every school, every business, all at one go, all simultaneously, we are going through the same stress, the same anxiety. So there's so much to learn. So let me tell you what I've been doing in the last few weeks. In the last few weeks, I have decided that there is so much to learn. I started collecting data. I started interviewing and surveying people from different parts of the world in the education sector, from the US, from Africa, from UK and Indonesia. I spoke to about 80 teachers up to the last 2 days ago. I spoke to about 17 board members, about 7 different funders and investors. I spoke to about 35 different principals, and I spoke to about 63 parents from the US, from UK, from Indonesia. And I'm still speaking to them as things go along. What I was trying to do was trying to understand real time what they were feeling, what was happening out there, what worked in schools and what didn't work. Because only in a crisis will you learn about your own organization. Now, next Friday, I'll be sharing my findings in an international webinar where I talk about reimagining schools. But today, I'll share with you what I learned and what my thoughts are on parent engagement. So just to give you an idea of what you will go through today, we will talk about parent engagement. But here, I don't need to lecture you. What I want to show you is what were parents saying during this current crisis and what they were saying before the crisis. I want to show you who benefits. We will talk a little bit about what's happening during COVID-19 around parents and a little bit about teachers. And I want to address head on, why is this topic, why is parent engagement just so hard for us to do? And then share with you what I think with some ideas and strategies beyond this COVID-19 and what you can do now. And I'll take some question and answers. Jadi nggak apa-apa, bahasa Indonesia juga bisa, aku bisa bahasa Indonesia kok. But right now I'll speak in English. In the last few years, I've been collecting a lot of comments, a lot of perspectives from parents. Wherever I meet and I interview them on their views about their child's education. Have a look at this, right? This is what parents said about what they think is parent engagement pre-COVID-19. That means last few years. So one of them said, oh, it's like I'm helping my son in a homework. It's like helping with projects, supporting. This was a father I spoke to in the US school in kindergarten. The son was in kindergarten. A mother in a UK school says, so we can support what the child is learning, what the expectations are. I volunteer in bazaars. So she had a daughter in primary. A mother in Indonesia say, ya bantu-bantu aja lah anak saya di PR-nya, homework, biar tahu sekolah lagi ngajar apa ke anak saya. Now I've got many other quotes, but generally this was the tone. Pre-COVID-19. During this crisis, I spoke to parents, and I want you to note the change of the tone. A mother in the US said to me, I need to know how to help my son with the homework. I need to know if he was learning or not. A father in Dubai said to me, I need to know how online is going to make a difference. And look at what the mother in Indonesia said. Ya, mau tahu sekolah lagi ngajar apa supaya jangan sia-sia buang uang. Ya, ini kan minta discount as all of us are facing, right? Asia, this is our story, kan? The first thing people want to know, do I get a discount? Tapi nggak apa-apa lah, we all facing the same thing. But more importantly, what was happening? What was happening was this. There has been a shift of the tone from I want to support, I wish to support, to I need to know. So this shift in attitude, I noticed it was very clear in their words that they use, which in turn tells me they have a shift in their mental emphasis, their mental thinking. But you know, this is normal. Why? Because this is a crisis. In a crisis, everybody wants to know. But what I want to tell you is this, that it is not true the parents are not disinterested. They are very interested. But parents will only interact when they feel the need to do so. So what it tells me as a school operator, that if any one of my teachers says parents don't care, I need to correct that thought. It is our animal instinct to care for our babies and our children. So parents do care. Let me share some data that I picked up in the last 6 weeks. Now, before COVID-19, we are all here. A lot of you will agree with me that generally, less than 50% of our parents are engaged in the school. I think even some say 30%, some say 40%. It's always the same parents that turn up. They always turn up to support the school in some way or the other. Mungkin bazar ke, parent education program, PTC, they all come. They have no choice, they have to come. But other than that, on a normal operational mode, less than 50%. If you have a school where parents are engaging your school at 90%, I would really love to meet you. But this is the same people, kan? The same people. But watch this, 2 weeks after the shutdown, schools were reporting 90% parent interaction. Why? Because they were concerned, there was panic, there was confusion. In fact, one school told me, I think it was in Indonesia, 99% of the parents popped up. Some they have never heard before, never engaged, also popped up. Every parent was in touch with their teacher, sometimes even 3, maybe 4 times. 2 weeks later, this number dropped to about 75%. This is based on the close to 60 to 70 schools that I spoke to. Now you may be thinking it's a small number for me to conclude, but I am still collecting data, but I'm sharing with you what I've picked up so early. So it dropped. It dropped because parents felt they understood something, they understood what was happening, they were busy with other things, and it slightly dropped to 75%. But notice, this number is still higher than 40%. So my view, and I think I want to share with you, post-COVID-19, you are going to have a school where more than 50% of your parents will want to engage with you. I think it could be 50 to 60%. I don't think the numbers will stand here. I think as school operators, we need to be prepared for parents to be more engaging. In the next 2-3 years, this is where the numbers will be. Post-COVID-19, the definition of post-COVID-19 is when schools open, we all start going. I think next 2-3 years, we are going to get more than half of schools interacting. Now, what does this mean? The pandemic has forced the parents and the schools to come together harmoniously, or may not be harmoniously, but they were forced to face each other, to talk and to learn. So to all of you and to my own board members, to my teachers, to schools, I say, you actually have your parents' attention right now. So what you need to do is take advantage of the situation. But what were parents doing all this time when they were interacting? Were they just involved, or were they actually engaging? Now, I want to tell you this, right? In my last 25 years, I've been very, very curious about the mental state of parents. I talk to psychologists, I talk to school designers. We all agree that there's a big difference between parent involvement and parent engagement. And I want to share this with you so that you'll be less frustrated. If you understand the difference between these two, you'll be less frustrated and you'll be more creative, because you'll realize where you are in these two. So let me talk a little bit about this. So what is actually the difference between parent involvement and parent engagement? One, in parent involvement, the action and goal setting is done by the schools. The teacher sets the goals. So this could be, contohnya, a teacher decides that a boy needs to read 3 books to improve his reading skills in maybe every 2 weeks or every 1 week he needs to read 3 books. So the teacher picks the book and gives it to the parents. So what do? We force our children to read those 3 books. But in parent engagement, parents and teachers work together. There's a discussion between the parents. Parents will explore and ask the, teachers will explore and ask the parents, what does your child do? What is he interested in? For example, the child could say, I'm interested in football, or the father can say, I'm interested in football. So maybe some of the readings could be around sports and the appropriate books that they pick up. In parent involvement, parents are told to do something important by the teacher. What do I mean by this? For example, a student may need to improve his oral and writing skills, right? And the teacher decides what is important. But in parent engagement, you actually have a discussion with the parents, and the parents will tell you, no, I want to improve his oral skills first before I want to improve his writing skills. Now, because the parents have spoken to you, there's a partnership, and therefore you get what I call shared priorities. Parent involvement is when schools tells parents how they should do it. Example, you come up with a composition, something for kids to write, and you tell them, make sure you have an introduction, make sure you have a body, make sure you have a conclusion, make sure there's 300 words here, make sure there are 200 words here. So you tell them how to do it, right? Because the parents don't know. But in a parent engagement, it shifts. You may talk to the parent and ask, I need your son to practice his writing skills. And the father may say, hey, my neighborhood needs someone to write something on the newsletter. He comes up with the idea. And my son is interested to participate in that. So the push now shifts purely from the parent, a teacher, but to a parent and teacher, because the parent has a lot of information that you can use. Parent involvement is all about focus on numbers. And this is our biggest headache. And I'm telling you, even in SIS, everyone tends to focus on this. How many parents show up? How many came for the musicals? How many bought the tickets for the musicals? How many came for the bazaars? Oh, Ibu Vijaya didn't turn up. Ah, yeah, she's a disengaged parent. We all focus on numbers. But parent engagement focus on students. Ibu Vijaya, whatever her name is, may not be coming, but hang on, she could be participating with the teacher and the son may be progressing well. So you need to decide where you are in this entire process. And one of the favorite quotes I have is from this award-winning teacher called Larry Ferlazzo. If you have time, read about involvement, engagement. I think this summarizes quite well. He says, a school striving for involvement leads with its mouth. We talk a lot, identifying projects, identifying needs, identifying goals, and then telling parents how to contribute. A school striving for engagement leads with the ears, listening to what parents think, listening to their dream, cita-cita mereka, impian mereka, and what they are worried. Apa sih kekhawatiran mereka? And then from here, work backwards. That's engagement. My view, what are the takeaways from here? You must have conversations in your school. Now, during COVID, after COVID, how do you want to involve parents? What do they want? Where will you involve parents? If after COVID, you think the involvement should be just in bazaars, you are at this stage. You're not at this stage. You're looking at numbers, but you're not looking at progress. You should be exploring solutions. You should be talking about action and you should be looking at focus. Now, here's the interesting part, right? This one here, you will find out after some time, different parents will want different things for their child. And ladies and gentlemen, bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu, in every of your brochure and my brochure, we always say personalized learning, personalized teaching. What it means, if you are personalized learning and personalized teaching, then we need to shift to personalized parent engagement. This is an important issue to share. So which is important? Is parent involvement or parent engagement important? It's both. Involvement and engagement equals success. But this is the first step. Now, in some schools, they spend a lot of time here and they get so frustrated, they are unable to see this. In some schools, they find this, but they don't see the parents come. If you ask me to choose, I choose this. I rather have the parents stay home, but in contact with my teachers, giving me information about their son, giving me information about their own home environment, about their impian, about their love, and then working with the teacher for this. So my feeling is a lot of us are stuck here. So, but I don't want you to be frustrated. Sometimes we are frustrated for the wrong reasons. So let me explain what do I mean. This is how parents typically engage, right? In pre and primary school, the engagement is extremely high. Then it's very high. Slowly, parent engagement comes down. And this is in direct proportion to little and no independent learning. And slowly it comes down to high school when there's more high independent learning. So why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this for two reasons. One, don't get frustrated with your overall parent engagement figures. You see this part here? This part here will naturally bring your figures down. This part here is what you need to concentrate on. If you have no budgets, if you have no time, this is the part you need to focus. I am not, hang on, I'm not saying parent engagement is not important. Don't get me wrong. I am saying parents naturally will start from here and get less engaged. Now, I'm going to show you some interesting data about parent engagement around here. Now, so when you talk about parent engagement in your school, I recommend that if you want to measure parent involvement, make sure you decide pre-primary, secondary, high school. And very likely you're going to find, if this part is very low, you are in trouble because there's no independent learning or very little and parents are disengaged. This is, if this part is very high, you're on the right track. Then you can focus on something else. Then you can focus on this. You will also realize online learning complaints are coming from here, pre and primary school, and less complaint coming from here. Why? Because this is where the parents are engaged. The children, the young kids cannot do independent learning or little independent learning at home. So they are complaining. So the point of this graph is this, and I repeat, when you see parent engagement figures in a school, they are low, don't worry about it. If you start adding all these figures, they will generally bring your numbers low. So in my school, when I look at parent engagement, my first interest is this side. And this is where everyone's interest should start with. What is parent engagement in Indonesia? So let's talk a little bit about Indonesia right now. You all will be familiar with the PISA test, right? The Program for International Student Assessment. So this is a test for 15-year-olds. They test for problem solving, for collaboration, and they measure, if you look at the exam papers, there a lot of them has to do with problem solving. So you know about PISA. Look where Indonesia is. Now the 2018, I should have added this chart. It's also somewhere here. Look at where the OECD countries are. And look at where Singapore is. Number one in math, reading, science. If it's not Singapore, it could be Beijing, it could be Shanghai. We're all up here. So I do meet the Indonesian government. I hope to see Pak Makarim. I've met the Indonesian ministers in the past. I speak to the World Bank. Why is Indonesia stuck here? So the main reasons for their low PISA scores are these: 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see this word here? Parent interaction. Of course, teacher quality, but I'm not talking about teacher quality. I'm not talking about life skills. I'm not talking about assessment. I'm talking about this. Parent interaction is one of the 4 factors named for causing low PISA scores. And what is the state of parent interaction? Look at these figures from the World Bank. According to the World Bank, 40% of the Indonesian, these are public and private, yeah, 40% have only met their teachers one time or never. 55% have attended school-wide meetings only one time or never. 65% only talk to their principals one time or never. And this is the worst, 90% have never volunteered in class. All these one time, I can tell you this is parent-teacher conferencing. No choice, they have to go to school. These other ones are probably the principals or the teachers got annoyed, poor performance. Please come and see us. Now this is the current state. So the point I'm trying to make, there is no even, forget about parent engagement. Kok parent involvement aja angkanya rendah begitu? So how important is parent education, parent engagement? It is very, very important. And I don't want to give you a lot of studies. In fact, in my research for this, there's so many studies, so many, all of you know, otherwise we won't be talking about it. You all know how important this is. It helps with the high test scores, it helps with the attendance. But what I found interesting, and I want to show this to you, is early involvement in parent engagement is what you need to look for. Parent engagement in elementary school and in preschool, because this helps set the foundations. You remember the graph I showed you where parents want to be, where parents usually are engaged or should be engaged because of independent learning. So after this, you need to go back, or I recommend you should go back and start building a data of how often parents engage your schools in the early and primary years, and look at that data very, very carefully. Now, who benefits? We all know students benefit, right? But parents also benefit. How do they benefit? They benefit because they become sensitive. You get involved, you get parents involved. You saw this, right? Students benefit right here. And everyone will say, oh, parent engagement helps students. No, parent engagement also helps parents. Why? Because parents become sensitive to their child's emotional and intellectual needs. It helps them to build knowledge, better relationship with their children. Your school will have harmony because when you ask for help, parents will help. People will have a better opinion of your teacher and of your school. And parents themselves will have confidence. Why? Because through this process, he will be saying, or she will be saying, I'm a good parent, I can make a lot of difference. This is a great school. And I need to do more because this is my child. Remember I told you, animal instinct. Once you put through parents understand, and we'll talk about this whole understanding process a little bit later. But what I want to show you is when you speak to parents and you show them how students will benefit, do not forget to talk about how they will benefit. Is that all? Nope. Teachers will also benefit and your school will also benefit. Why? Because now there's high morale. There's less stress. You remember I showed you a slide where where there was stress, this helps reduce stress. Teachers will be better able to prepare lessons better because it's engagement. They're working with the parents, they're trying to understand. This is where a lot of personalized teaching can take place because your personalized engagement is giving you information here. There's less harassment. Once you have harmony, you have less time wasted on writing long emails. I'm not happy, this is a lousy teacher, I need to talk to the principal, I'm not paying your school fees, I don't like this school. I'm telling you, and I know there are teachers out there, minta ampun, this can take a lot of stress. And because your school benefits, you can create a nice atmosphere, this harassment goes away. And of course, last one is enrollment. Sometimes we spend a lot of time on marketing new parents, for new parents to come in. I always tell my school, retention is the best marketing. Focus on your own parents, they will become advocates. So students, teachers, parents, and the school, everybody wins. Now, if everybody wins, why is this, if you pardon my French, I'm going to use this word, maaf ya, why is this so bloody hard to do? Everybody knows we are going to win. Kok nggak mau kerja sama? Why is this so hard to do? So I said, okay, let us examine what seems to be the problem. Now, do you remember what I said about this? During COVID-19, there was before COVID-19, there was a 40% roughly statistics interaction. 2 weeks was 90%. So see how parents' interaction went up? Guess what else went up? Teacher stress. So when I spoke to teachers, by the way, more than 50% of our teachers are constantly stressed, okay? Even if your parent involvement is low. I've not met any school where teachers are never stressed. But what happened, Bapak-bapak dan Ibu-ibu, was when 2 weeks into online teaching, parents start to get involved so much, teacher stress went up. And when they started to ease up a bit, teacher stress started coming down. And because they were under closer scrutiny. So what am I trying to tell you this? I say we need to take a step back. We know parents want to interact from here. We know it is good for students, it is good for teachers, it is good for the school. But why is this happening? So I draw an analogy like this, right? It's like exercising and trying to lose weight. We all know it's good for us. We know the benefits. But why is exercising so difficult to do? We start, we stop, we start, we stop. Seperti orang bilang, hangat-hangat tai ayam, ya. So, but when you talk to people who exercise regularly, they will tell you that what they have done is created an environment that is conducive for their exercise regime. What do I mean? Right equipment, knowledge, time. Their wife give them semangat. Their children give them semangat. Their friends give them motivation. By the way, for the foreigners who are zooming in, semangat is motivation. So I examine what happened in my interviews with those 50 teachers that I spoke to that contributed to this graph. How come they were stressed? And it's very interesting what they told me. So these were the COVID-19 situation that caused parents stress because teachers were stressed. This was the stressful environment. There were technology issues, right? Bandwidth issues, old computers, platforms that students didn't know how to use, platforms that teachers don't know how to use. And some of it had to do with teacher training. Teachers had their own anxieties, right? Teachers had husbands who have no jobs, or teachers had wives who were working in the front line as nurses. There was poor communication between parents and teachers that created a lot of stress. In some schools, they talked about disconnect between teacher and principal because the principal was more busy in trying to give an image of how great the school was and spending less time to solve the teacher's problem. And lastly, there was parent scrutiny. Tiba-tiba, orang tua mendadak used the magnifying glass and came to the teacher and started examining everything. And this was over-involvement. So this stressful environment created tension. And on this side, parents were stressed. Their business was stressed and they were suffering. They had relatives in different countries who had problems. So it was a very stressful environment. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because if your school has a stressful environment, parent engagement will be very, very difficult to do. I repeat, if the environment in your school is one of great stress, parent engagement will be very, very difficult to do. Now, you are going to come back and ask me, okay, I know you have some data to show parent engagement was very difficult during COVID-19, but hang on, sebelum COVID-19, also parent engagement is difficult to do. So I said, okay, this was terrible. Let's examine before COVID-19. What were the factors that caused parent engagement not to be at a high level? First reason, I hope after this session, you can go back and reflect and think about the difference between involvement and engagement. I suspect a lot of us are just constantly worried about involvement, parents not turning up. Of course, it's the first step. But those who are not turning up, ask yourself, are they engaged? And if the answer is no, I will share with you some ideas on how you can engage them. There's this language barrier. Your schools may have mainland Chinese. Your schools may have Koreans, may have Indians, may have Indonesians who don't understand Bahasa Indonesia. I'm very happy to see a lot of the schools, when they communicate with parents, they have translations, English and Bahasa Indonesia. But keep in mind, there's a group like the Chinese who don't understand. So your question will be, do I have to translate everything to everyone? I don't know the answer. It depends on how big a certain community is. But if you care, you should make some effort. There's this social and cultural factor which I need to talk to you about. There's some parents who are just malu. They have time, but mereka malu mau datang. Why? Because the teacher is speaking in English and they don't understand. And you know Indonesian hierarchy kan, they don't ask questions. Kalau udah malu ya diem. Apain ke sana aku merasa agak bego. Udah macet suruh ke sana nggak ngerti. So these factors are playing. And the Koreans are even different. They won't come. They come in big groups. And if they don't understand, they don't want to come because some of them can't speak English. So they even feel more malu to come. There's this other thing called style of communication. I wrote an email to parents, excuse me, during COVID-19. And many of them say it was too long. I was trying to be passionate. They say it was too long. They never read the emails. So ask yourself, are your emails very long? Do people have time to read? Are there too many words? Are you using words and not pictures? Are your videos too long? Is your font something exciting for people to see? There is a science behind communication. Are you using too many difficult words? Oh, we believe in holistic education. Lo, mereka nggak ngerti holistic. Apa itu holik kali, holik Milo. I'm not saying they're stupid. They are very clever. I am just saying sometimes don't use big words. for the parents. Use something which is down to earth that they understand. We use big theories. I've seen newsletters where parents will quote some big theory around mind mapping. Loh, parents belum ngerti itu. Are you being difficult that they don't feel like reading? If you give me something that is too difficult, I probably won't read. Are you using too many tools? Suddenly Seesaw, suddenly Google Suites, suddenly LMS, suddenly EMS, suddenly ABC. Are there too many tools in your school? Already now you ask me to Zoom, and then suddenly Google Meet, and suddenly Skype. I hate it. Are you using too many tools? Personalize. You remember I spoke to you about personalized engagement. I think we are not, sadly, we say we are teaching at a very personal level, but we are not engaging parents at a personal level. Are you sending parents irrelevant data? My son is in preschool, but I'm getting newsletters about high school. They're too much for me to read. Teachers' attitude and time. I think the problem also lies in sometimes in our teachers. I'm not blaming parents all the time. I think our teachers may say, I have no time. You're asking me to do so many things, so many admin work, and now you're asking me to personalize engaging the parents. Somebody is, if I go there and tell my teachers, somebody will get up and say, Mr. Jaspal, I have so many classes. I have 30 students in each class or 20 students in each class. Those are 40 parents times 3. Do you want me to engage each one differently? How do I do it? So my answer to you is, you need to sit down with those who need to be engaged first. Students who need to be engaged, prioritize that. There's this whole issue of scheduling. And by the way, I think teachers do a lot of work. I think we need to use a lot of technology and remove some of this nonsensical work that the teachers do. Scheduling. See, if you can release teachers from a lot of this work, they can do a partnership with parents, and the impact on the students are very high. So I always talk to my heads to say, less admin work, more teaching and engaging. Then scheduling. Are we timing it appropriately for parents? There's traffic. Do they have priorities? Should they come? Should they not come? Are you doing it for different parents? They can't come on weekend. Why should I come on a weekend? I'm already working till Friday, and I'm a teacher, and you want me to come on Saturday? There could be a scheduling issue. And there's this whole awareness of the digital age. Do your parents, do your teachers really understand the complexities of digitalization and what you can do? So a lot of this and this depends on school leadership. This is very academic for you to understand. Are we talking about involvement or engagement? Where should I focus? Where should I be frustrated? Where should I not be frustrated? A lot of this is a shift in the way we want to talk to parents. A lot of this has to do with removing teachers with doing other work and getting them focused. Like example, even my schools do it, right? Teachers are at the door looking at students going home. Sometimes I wonder, what is you may argue because they meet parents, but hang on, all the teacher that does is watch a student go and a maid pick up and she's bye-bye Johnny, and she's sitting there and standing there for so many hours. What if she's relieved of that and she can do other things? Oh, my schools do it also, by the way. Don't think SIS doesn't do it. We do it, but we are having serious conversations around these things. So now that we have seen data that I have shown, and now that we have understood what parent engagement and parent involvement is, now we have understood who benefits and who does not. Can we make it easier? What are the strategies out there? Now, I know a lot of you will ask me questions, or I receive emails about pre-COVID strategy and post-COVID strategy. Actually, when I looked at both strategies, there's a common framework around these strategies. So I'm not going to share two different kind of strategies. I'm going to share one, except during pre-COVID, during COVID and after COVID-19, you may have to emphasize a little bit more. So I spoke to a lot of the schools in the US, in the UK, Singapore, Indonesia, and asked them, those who managed to communicate well, engage well, what was the secret? What was the, so I took a lot of data. It's interesting that different people have different ideas. So let me share this with you. The first level, they all say they needed to build trust. You have to be very welcoming. You have to listen, and you have to be inclusive, because that builds trust. When you are inclusive, you'll be transparent, and you will apologize, and you won't be defensive. You can say things like, this is my idea, Ibu, what is your idea? This is how we are going to work. And it's very interesting that in COVID-19, during this crisis, when I spoke to some of the teachers who were very successful, they said that this was a big part of their success. Of course, this was also when they spoke to parents, they spent a lot of time. How are you, Ibu? How's your family? How's, you know, the pleasantries, the pleasantries. This is in the digital world. Let's assume you can start meeting each other. This would mean what? When parents come, you give them a coffee. Your signage is very clear. Where do they go? They walk into the school. Is a parent sitting? You know, I have this philosophy in SIS. If a parent sits there more than 10 minutes, I get very irritated. I actually go to the parents and say, Pagi, are you waiting for someone? I say, yeah, I got an appointment with somebody at 9 o'clock. It's 9:30. Why are we disrespecting parents? They are very busy people. 9 o'clock means 9 o'clock. They've come, they're your clients. So this was very interesting. Those parents who were very, very unhappy had so much to say. And they spent a lot of time listening, and they worked with them to come up with ideas. And the more they listened, they realized the problem was actually at home and not so much in the school. And they weren't pointing fingers. They sat, they spoke, they came up with ideas. This was what I call building the level of trust. Believe me, if you can clear this level, everything is so much more easier. The second one is what I call the exploration phase. When you talk to parents, right, in this inclusive stage, you have a lot of options, right? But hang on, I don't mean options to help students. I mean options for parents to choose where they can get involved. Because it's parent engagement, you need to have a partnership with them. So you lay a few options and you work with them to see which are the options they feel that they can be a participant in. And of course, you have to be sensitive to their cultural and religious values, making sure that the kind of things you ask them to do has sensitivity to their beliefs. And then you need to be flexible. What do I mean by flexible? If the parent picks an option and he can't deliver, be flexible. It's not the end of the day, end of the world. There are issues in their house. You remember when I showed you that stress, the reason parent engagement during COVID-19 was so difficult because of stress. This is what will save you and help you identify stress levels. You have to be flexible. This one is action. After you have finished the exploration phase, you have to act. Parents are not going to have any trust in you if you just talk and you don't do anything. And you need to keep it simple. Don't make any intervention too complicated. Parents have no time. They may have no understanding. There may be a cultural issues. There may be a malu issues. You don't ask the parents to come 10 times to school to review an action. Keep it very, very simple in small baby steps, and you have to be very consistent in the way you communicate with your parents. Why? Because you have come up with a strategy here. And you have to be consistent. And the last one is what I call the review phase. How do you know that you are doing well? Feedback. Feedback from parents. Ibu, this is my message. How is it happening? What is happening? This phase of review is just not feedback. You even review and educate yourself and as to see whether your techniques, your strategies are correct. You know, when I did research for this talk and in another webinar that I'm doing on Friday, I found out there is so many resources, so many theories, so many stories around this that I myself felt I can engage. I became a better parent. I got a high school student and I tried some of the ideas. So when you educate, who are you educating? Not just the parents, yourself. You're also educating yourself. You also look at resources, what's available out there, and you direct parents to the right resources, and then you collect feedback with them. So with this, I'm going to take questions. And my last point here is parents and teachers need to build trust, to explore ways to help the child so that the appropriate action can be taken by the partnership while reviewing the partnership and the process all the time. I will take questions. Friday, if you want to take a picture of this, I'll be doing a webinar with a university in India where I'll be talking about reimagining schools. Parent engagement will not be part of it. It'll be more around how do you think schools need to change beyond the COVID-19. So thank you very much. I post a lot of ideas on my Instagram. I'm willing to come to any school to share my thoughts. I'm happy to help public schools and speak in Bahasa Indonesia in any other language. And with that, I will take any other questions, both in Bahasa or in English. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Jaspal. Excellent presentation, a great insight. And I believe everyone agree with me, and probably most of their question is already answered in your presentation. So I would like just to highlight a few things while waiting for anyone to ask questions. Me as parents, I relate most of this. And as much as it's easy to say, it's sometimes difficult to execute. So the way I see it, one of the most important thing is the style of communication that sometimes we take it for granted. It's not just information that was passed on to the parents, but how we communicate to the parents to make sure that they get the right message. And like you said, all this stressful environment, challenging time, it can put this negative tone, if I may say, and sometimes it was captured not in the way that we want. So probably you can elaborate even more on that, on how we can communicate in a positive way. For instance, you mentioned in the beginning about, parents is asking discount, and some of the parents is thinking that, teachers is makan gaji buta, they didn't really do their work. Yep. It's less work. Well, actually, they are working harder in this kind of situation.
So it's a good point, right? So so let's go back to communication during an environment of stress. In an environment of stress, you need to be very, very careful what you say and how you say it. You need to be very careful on the words that you use in your email, what you're trying to also share with your teachers and your parents, right? So anyone who wants to communicate during this period, when you finish writing something, think about what you're writing. Don't be very quick and send an email. Everybody is very stressed in this environment. So everybody wants to hear positive news. All right. In an environment, we want to hear positive news. I am sick and tired of opening my newspaper and every day reading 500 more cases, 700 more cases. The minute I see 500 drop to 300, oh, aku punya semangat. So in a stressful environment, your stance and your link should be positive. When students are doing something, highlight to the parents the positive nature. This is not the time to talk to them about Anton is not logging in all the time. Iya dong, the parents will know Anton is not logging in because he's running around in the house, right? And the parents is fed up. So you have to look at positives because we all need positives at this point of time. But I'm not saying lie or come up with nonsensical positive. Hey, every child has a positive. Let's try to calm parents down. So I would recommend a tone on the positiveness. I think even if you find something very interesting a child does, please spend time writing to the parent and say, hey, your child did this homework. And what a wonderful thing. You know why? I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, the father and the mother are stressed. Kita belum tahu ya mereka suasana di rumah. Maybe they have a grandfather who is sick, a relative who's dying. Maybe the father has no job. You can't give too much of negative information at this point of time. You're just making things very, very difficult. You are just making things very difficult for them. So my recommendation is look at positiveness also at this point of time. On terms of discounts, ya aku juga jadi mangsa lah itu. What shall I say? You know, I see parents writing letters. You know what is interesting is some of the comments. If I want to get annoyed, I want to get angry, it's quite easy to get angry. But we need to understand their thinking. Okay? So what they're basically saying right now, sorry. What they're basically saying right now is this. I don't think your online is suitable. I don't think my son and my daughter are learning. I think you're saving money. You have no electricity. So here's an example. We actually wrote to parents. One of my school did this experiment. They wrote to the school and they told the parents that we are saving money on electricity, betul. But everything else is still functioning. The cleaners are there. The security is there. We are still paying the teachers. And by the way, I only save so much on electricity, so I give you back this. And what do? They shift away from the saving. They went back to, but my economy is no good. My life is no good. And by the way, your teaching is no good. So strategically, they have shifted away from one argument to another argument because people are stressed. People are stressed. So you need to engage them in a different way. Should I give discount? Should I not give discount? I think I leave that to the schools to decide, but handle it quite carefully. What I can tell you is when I first wrote the letter to parents and told them about COVID-19, we are here to support you, we are this, we are that. Nggak ada yang baca suratnya, terlalu panjang katanya ceritanya. They went straight to the point because one of them read, he was looking for a number, you know, 10% or 20%. He didn't see it. Then he said, tak usah baca. No need to give me some philosophy about COVID-19. Ini, I don't want to hear that philosophy. So I'm also learning, kan? But they didn't say, this is a rubbish letter. They just felt it was a neutral letter. And they went to the principal, they asked for discounts. So be careful what you say. Don't write long story, and highlight the positiveness in the current state. Any other questions?
Yes, I have few questions now. I will read it one by one. Okay, so this one is from Chandra. Parents also need to manage their time to work and parenting. I think this is one of the barriers, so that is really difficult to build engagement. Because in their minds, it seems like distributing the role. So parents as supplier provide facilities through financial support and want to get result of education from school. How to manage this?
Okay. So this is what I call parents who think the school is a contractor. I give you money, I send you my child. Don't give me long story. Just tell me whether my child is doing well or not. And I have no time, by the way, because I have other business to do. And by the way, Machet, don't ask me to travel 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers to come your story. We need to understand his position over there. Now, if you go back to what I said, involvement and engagement, how would I do it? I would find little stories that show because you got involved, there was an immediate benefit. What parents need is evidence of some involvement which led to some benefit. And if you can find some story where the father's involvement or the mother, as small as it was, it resulted in some benefit, you need to amplify that. You need to go back to the parent and say, you know, Pak, kemarin kan Bapak ngajar anak begini-begini. Let me show you what the benefit was. Now, the problem is we become too defensive when we meet such parents. And I can tell you the market out there, after this, schools are going to change, okay? I think cash flows will be hit. We are going to all have a different position in all of this. But I also will tell you, your parents are going to be very demanding. They'll be more health conscious now, and they'll be far more demanding than before. So which means now we have to listen more to what they are saying, and we have to take action according to what is fair and what is right. So to answer that question, how do we handle parents who feel that their role is just based on, I'm a client, I give you the money, and you're supposed to teach? I think I will highlight the positiveness of his involvement. I would do it, as small as it is. And I would communicate with him the manner he wants to be communicated. I would have a conversation with him. No parent will say, if you come to me and say, Pak Jaspal, I want to send you something about your son. Do you want to hear or not? I won't say I don't want. I will say, yeah, but can you send me in this manner? Can you send me in that manner? Which are the areas that you'll be interested in? Oh, I'm interested in my son's development in an area. Okay, I work on that first. See, the problem hi-fi is this, right? Pak Chandra is a good question. We have no time. Teachers have no time to be thinking along this. And that's why I said we need to take away a lot of the work from our teachers and do more personalized engagement. Thank you.
Okay, just to probably add a little points on that part, you said just take out that from the teacher side. Are you suggesting that the communication is handled by the management team?
No. I'm saying all the other work that teachers do, which is unnecessary, should be taken away from teachers because of technology. I think let the teachers engage parents because they will get more information about their children. So if I can, one thing I've learned after COVID-19 is try to work with my principals and reduce the teachers' unnecessary work with technology or with other people looking after it and increase parent engagement.
Okay. Okay. I have other questions. This one is from Firna. Some parents tend to compare one school policy and the others. They don't want to leave the school, but they continue to ask school to adopt other schools' policy. We cannot simply respond by saying our school has our own policy, take it or leave it. How can we address this concern wisely? Thank you.
Okay, so I think, first of all, generally all the schools have roughly the same kind of policies on education, right? So if they are irritated by one particular policy, then, and very often I can tell you, the policy has to do with two things: homework and refund, from my experience, okay? Other policies, normally they are not irritated with. They will compare by saying the other school, you see, they give a lot of homework. They give this, they are using seesaw, they're using this. How come we are not doing this, right? The other one, the policy is around refund. I can't imagine any particular other policy that people are annoyed with. And I think on this, the way to handle this whole thing is to take a position of one policy against all the other things that you're doing. You know, when you do a policy, it is not standalone, kan? The policy has linked to a bigger brand, a bigger image of the school. Why you are doing this? What are the benefits around this? So I think sometimes people don't link that one policy to a bigger story around why you're doing it. And frankly, if you cannot explain the policy, you better go change the policy. I think when you put in a policy, you must have the ability to explain why you're doing it. And doesn't matter what other schools are doing. Why am I doing it? Because this is what I believe in. This is what our school brand and culture is about. This is what inspired learning for inspired futures are about. And here's another little trick, you know. Many years ago, I had a lot of complaints about homework, about 9 years ago. They said, oh, that school gives a lot of homework. You don't give homework, blah, 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 blah. So we did a survey with parents and asked them what they like, what they don't like. 80% says we were giving too much homework. Can you imagine? 80%. That means these few parents who complain was such a minority that wasted my time talking to this 10% when 90% of them wanted otherwise. So you need to flush out. Is it one parent? Is it one story? Is it one anecdote? Or is it the whole community? If it's the whole community, it's something serious.
Okay, thank you, Pa. I think that's related to the next questions, which is from Chalk. When all these strategies that you mentioned, they've done it and still have one or two parents who are not satisfied. So what would be the next option? Like the last of the last option that, the school can take to win this one or two parents over?
Look, we all have limited time. Okay, I'm going to say something that's going to probably, you may disagree. You may feel stunned and shocked, but I will say it anyway. A school is there to educate every child, and we should do our best for every child. But I will not allow in SIS one or two parents to constantly be a problem for the whole school, because it is time consuming. It is demoralizing. All my efforts should be spent on the majority of the parents. If you're telling me one or two, after explaining a few times, if they still are unhappy, I will move on, Haifa. I will honestly tell you, I will move on. After we all have decided and agreed, we have done our very best. And I will then tell the parents. I actually told the parents this. There was a parent who was very unhappy. And I told the parent very politely, sir, do you realize how privileged a position you are? He says, what do you mean I'm privileged? You mean SI is so great? I said, no, tunggu dulu. Do you know what a privileged position you are? He says, what do you mean? You have choice. You have a choice, which means If you, basically I'm saying, if you're not happy, please go away lah. That's what I'm actually saying. Okay, but I'm saying in a nice way. We have done everything within our power to try to do. But you know, time is limited. We have so many things to do, right? With your heart, with your soul, with your time, if you have given the school and the parent the best, then put your head up and walk forward. I think no need to cry over. There will always be one or two or three or four who will be, apa? Kan ada setitik, apa itu setitik biru?
Setitik.
Nah, itu biar susunya jadi biru or something. I still remember the peribahasa. Right?
Okay. Pak Jaspal, are you still okay for time? Because we still have questions.
Go ahead. I mean, if everyone
Okay.
is happy, I'm happy to engage. Bahasa
Okay.
Indonesia nggak apa-apa kok.
No, it's all in English. I think everyone is good. So the next one is from Chris. How flexible can we be with changing a certain policy to get the parents' engagement and involvement?
I think you should be very flexible. I think this is the key thing about parent engagement. You have to be flexible. More so now after COVID, because there are so many stress levels. I am telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to face a school community which will have problems yang kalian juga nggak tahu mereka rumahnya gimana. So you have to be very flexible. You have to listen carefully what they are saying to you. So you have to be very flexible on engaging your parent community from here onwards, right? If the father or the mother says, I want to see you and I cannot see you, you have to be flexible, right? And if he doesn't understand what the issues are, you have to be flexible. So I'm sorry to say, it is going to take a lot of the time of educators, but this is the time that we all should rally together and understand that a family which is stressed is equal to a child that is stressed. And a child that is stressed is equal to a teacher that is stressed. So we need to be very, very flexible.
Okay. There's one comment which I wanna read it to you because I think it's really good to have your insight on it. You know, that small percentage of parents who's not happy and sometimes can be negative can influence other parents, or probably the negative term will be provoking. So do you have any tips on how the school can overcome this negativity?
Wah, ini namanya ada provokator tuh. I have to listen to the TNI kalau ada provokator, gimana ngurusnya provokator. Look, I put it this way, right? If your parents are easily provoked, something is wrong with your school. Don't blame the parents. Don't blame the tukang suntik. You have to look back in your school. There are always advocates. There are always people, I'm not saying provocators, they're advocates. There are always people who are supportive of your school. If one or two parents who you can't work with are provocating, are suntik, are doing this, and then other parents are easily riled up, it means two things, you know. One, you haven't understood the feeling and sentiments of your parents. Something is brewing in your school which you don't know about. There's something very wrong in the school, right? No parents will join a demonstration or a march if they don't believe in something, right? Something's very wrong in the school. So number two, I will handle the provocators in a very strong manner. I have issued legal letters to parents to say, your email or your letter or whatever, you know, you may be thinking, wah keras banget. I'm telling you, I'm not. I've got a very soft heart. I've given students free education. I'm very keen to help Indonesia. I always tell people, paspor saya paspor Singapura ya, tapi hati saya merah putih, you know. But I won't take any parents who come here Suntek and spend all the time. You're not engaging the school to understand. We've invited you over, but you're sitting and shooting emails from afar. well, then I have to counter you with some legal letters and make sure you don't come and irritate the school, kan? But to answer your question, if one provocateur can create a lot of problems in your school, something is wrong in your school there. You better go and check. Something is happening you don't know.
Okay. It leads to one last question, Pak Jaspal.
Gak apa-apa, mau also can.
Unless it's something popping up in the chat box again. So again, it's the way of communication.
Yeah.
A lot of parents probably engage teachers more than the school leaders,
Betul.
and more to management. So what do you think about this channel of communication? Is it leave it to the teachers, or
No,
have the
no.
leaders involved with management?
I think a school is like a family. When the parents walk in, even your satpam is important. Selamat pagi, ibu, selamat this is the welcoming which I spoke to you about. When your parents come into your lobby, your receptionist, when she sees the parents sitting there, appointment at 9 o'clock, and the parents is now is 9:10, she calls the teacher is in the principal's office, there's a big meeting, but you ask the parents to go. For me, all this is very wrong, you know. It's very, very wrong. And the receptionist doesn't pass a message to the secretary of the principal karena takut, and the secretary doesn't tell the principal that Ibu Pertivi or Ibu Handoyo is waiting outside, and then you are not bothered, your meeting went on. I hate it. I don't like this in SIS if I see anything like this. The parents are the most important. If the meeting is 9 o'clock, they come in, maximum 10 minutes they should wait. Maximum. Right? You can't be running a meeting and ignoring the parent. Jangan lupa ya, mereka punya kerja yang lain tau. Bisa jadi they took leave, they took a Gojek, they took a Grab, they drove, they parked, they come all the way there. They're not coming to sell satay to you. They're coming to talk about the children, their child. You're taking their money, you're taking their fees. You tell them it's 9 o'clock, you be there at 9 o'clock. Otherwise, don't tell them to come at 9 o'clock. So everybody is going to play a role to create the comfort level of the parents. Now, in terms of the student, it is just not one teacher. You remember, you will agree that one student is dealing with a multitude of teachers. The PE teacher, the art teacher, the music teacher. So there should be a common communication tone around that one child, if that child's issue is worthy. Every person involved in the child, you should listen. Why? It can be the PE teacher will be telling you, no, Johnny is such a great football player. He's a leader. He talks a lot. When on football field, I see him. He's so inspiring. He's so this. But in the class, you know, he's always talking. He's always irritating. You will have different versions of the story. So if it comes to the child, every person involved must have a say on the child's future. But on a day-to-day basis, it is that one homeroom teacher, that one counselor, that one main teacher, she's the coordinator of the information. But if she's not collecting information from everyone, then something's wrong in that school. Make sense?
Yep, pretty much, yes. There's no more questions. You want to have a closing statement, Pak, before I close this?
Sure. I just wanted to say this to you, that there are two big reasons that parent engagement, it will be a problem in your school. One, your environment is very stressful. Now, in one of my talks on Friday, I'm going to address this. I think it is time, as principals, as leaders, you should have a feel of the stress level of your school, of your teachers. How you do it, I leave it to you. Because a stress environment is not going to make any parent engagement meaningful, number one. Number two, all the tools, the communications, etc., which I showed in that slide, think about those things. The last one, if you believe in personalized education, personalized learning, and personalized teaching, ladies and gentlemen, Bapa-Bapa dan Ibu-Ibu, then you must believe in personalized parent engagement. And you need to sit and think, what is it about? I wish all of you the very best. May God bless every one of you, your students, your satpams, your security guards, your cleaners, your teachers. I hope you all are safe. Maybe one day after this COVID settlement, we can talk about how schools can work together to ensure safety of the students. Thank you for giving me the privilege. I've learned so much. Good luck to all of you all.
Thank you so much, Pak Jaspal. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine.
Stay
Please give feedback to Ibu Haifa if you found this inspiring. Happy to help in any other way. And if you want to know more, like the star, follow me on Instagram. I've got more stories to tell. Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to join Pak Jaspal webinar on Friday. It's about reimagining schools. It's related to, correct me if I'm wrong, Pak Jaspal, it's related to what we discussed today. So please join.
It will focus less on parent engagement, but focus on every other thing that I think is important. So I'm actually writing an article, hopefully will come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for participating. Have a great afternoon and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.